Hope we're all doing okay. Looks like we're doing okay. So, of course, I can't see anything because the lights are so bright. So you guys, I really have no idea how you're doing. Okay, every year for the past 3 years, we've been doing a fireside chat with Facebook, and it's a great opportunity for us to ask them some questions about what's happening with the platform, how it's continuing to evolve. You saw some great stats from Sam's presentation. And the way that this works is I will introduce our guest in just a minute. We'll start out, I'll ask her a few questions, and then we'll open it up to you, to the audience, to ask some questions. Now, this year, you can raise your hand, and we will have runners that will come and find you and allow you to ask your question out loud. Or you can submit them through the app, and we will have someone that will be in the back of the room that can actually feed your questions back to us. And we've got about a half hour for this session, so let's get started. But Jessica, can you just introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what the head of brand strategy and the variety of other things are that you do within Facebook? That'd be great.
Thank you for having me. This is a wonderful event. I got to sit into some sessions earlier today, so it's a thrill, and lots of fantastic clients here as well, so it's a pleasure. I'm on the advertising marketing side of Facebook. I head up brand strategy for the family of apps and services, as we like to call them. So that's Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, Atlas, LiveRail, the Audience Network, and then anything else that joins the stew pot in the marketing world. Sometimes call myself Octopus Snuggler. All of the different tentacles around the company as we grow. I also do outbound product marketing for our ad products. And I've been there about 2.5 years.
Great.
And it's the bomb.
Well, you said you were going to be funny, and you're definitely paying that off. Thanks for being here with us. We're really glad to have you here with us. So the first place I wanted to start, we get a lot of questions about younger users, millennials, leaving Facebook, that maybe you've got the established millennials, but the future millennials are leaving. Can you give us some context around that? Is this true?
I've never heard this question before.
Really?
It's amazing. No, it comes up a lot.
Yeah.
So here's our answer to this, is really most people use Facebook of any demographic stripe, and that is an honor and a privilege for us. Do some groups of people, younger millennials, teens, use Instagram more intensively than they use Facebook for certain purposes? Yes. Do they also use Messenger and Snapchat and a bunch of other things? Yes. But Facebook is really the umbrella that everyone of every demographic uses and is a touch point. I mean, I will say there's an interesting dynamic with some younger folks not wanting to necessarily say how much they use Facebook always, bragging more about using an Instagram perhaps, but they're really on all of the platforms.
Okay, so the rumors aren't necessarily
The rumors
true.
of our
It's just
demise
a bit
are greatly overstated.
Or maybe there's somewhat of a coolness element that some of the younger generation is thinking about? Possibly. Okay.
Some people.
Fair enough. So one of the things I think, our paid social practice has really evolved and it's thrived and it's taken off, one of the fastest growing practices that we have within the agency. And a big piece of that, obviously, is not just the fact that we're spending around Facebook, but how you've evolved the advertising opportunities and clearly getting advertising into the news feed. And I remember the early days when you were figuring it out and how much you were going to charge and what it was going to look like and so on and so forth. And it's come so far, so fast. Can you talk about what was it like internally? Because obviously the news feed is the treasure. You don't want to mess with the consumer experience. That can have massive ramifications.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it is the place where you really, as a brand, where you really want to be.
Right.
So can you talk about how you've been able to evolve and keep the consumer experience so positive while allowing, all of our clients the ability to really work within this treasured space within the platform?
Thank you. So I would say one of the hallmarks of Facebook's approach to life and product development is people first, right? And if people don't have a valuable, rich, personalized, meaningful experience on Facebook or Instagram or Messenger, they won't stay and they won't use it. So we are hyper focused on making that experience for people engaging and robust and wonderful, and also constantly evolving. And so we are, rapidly testing and tweaking the algorithm and looking at ad frequency and formats and making sure that that value equation for people is always positive, because that's the only way we make it positive for marketers, right? If we don't keep people coming back and excited about, hey, I not only get my friends and my family and images from my boyfriend and my grandma, but I found these awesome shoes. That organic, natural, relevant experience is what makes the whole circle go around.
Okay. And so as you guys think about that, I mean, have there been situations where you've seen it work really well, or maybe even more importantly, where it's fallen down a bit? And can you share a little bit of that with us so that we can understand
I'll give you
what works?
a few examples of where, like, I think one of the things we kind of talked about in a prep session is we're always learning from people, right? What they want and what works. And so I'll give you a few examples of that, and then I will definitely find a failure here in my attic as well. So like Messenger, for example. So messaging was becoming a big part of the Facebook experience, and people were doing it a lot more and more. But then we also found out that there were things that people wanted to do with messaging that were separate and apart from Facebook, and maybe they didn't want to do it in a Facebook setting. So we made Messenger a separate app and a separate experience, right? We were like, this is its own thing. This is its own form of expression. And so like Instagram or like Facebook, it needs its own home. Or on Instagram, I always like to say Instagram started with the tyranny of the square, right? Like square images. That's what we do. We're square image people. But then we found out, well, that's not always great for people who may not always have square images. It's certainly not great for marketers. And we also have video, which is a huge thing, right? So we've been flexible, and we now take a variety of formats. So we're always, learning and morphing in that way. I'm trying to think of a good failure example. I mean, we launch things and kill them routinely. Let me think if something jumps to mind.
Okay, all right. So while you're thinking of that, the other thing that I really wanted to ask you was just about Instagram. We've been testing opportunities. Everybody's excited about it. What's coming? What's next? What should? Any little secrets you can share with this group
with this
of
very
300
intimate
people?
group?
Yeah, it's just a handful of people that are here. Would be really fantastic.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton coming from Instagram. Adding video to carousel. We're adding dynamic product ads to Instagram. We're adding some new targeting features that I cannot tell you about, but that you will love. That will be rad. There are, I think probably most people here know that we moved to an algorithmic feed format on Instagram, so that was a major change, and very analogous to what I was talking about before. Like, we have to make this the best place for people to come back to thousands of times, and the way we do that is that we improve the relevance through personalized targeting, and we do that through algorithms. So that's an example of another place we're investing. But you'll see, more ad formats, more targeting, lots and lots of goodness coming in the next few months.
So just curious, like how, when you're outlining the roadmap, how many things go on it? How quickly, even when we were just chatting backstage about other things that might have taken other platforms a little bit longer, like how quickly do things come to fruition within Facebook? Does it go from idea to?
Just unbelievable. It's like nothing I've ever experienced before. So I came from Apple previously, which is obviously a hardware-driven company, but also has a software angle of some import. And they have this, incredibly rigorous, calendared, long-term road mapping process. And I came to Facebook and I was like, great, I'm in product marketing, let's look at the roadmaps. And they're like, yeah, well, okay, well, we got this thing coming out in a few weeks, and we're testing this other thing. And I was like, yeah, but like, what about 6 months? And they were like, that's a really long way away. So, I mean, the point of that is it's incredibly fast, it's incredibly iterative. frankly, it's hard to keep up with, right? It's hard for our clients, it's hard for agencies, and it's hard for ourselves. And that's why one of the reasons I call myself Octopus Snuggler is like I'm trying to constantly round up all of the things that are coming out from all of the different product teams and make sure that we're able to communicate them to you in a hopefully semi-timely and rational fashion. So, you know, the pace and the diversity across DR and brand and video and Instagram and Messenger is really amazing.
That's fantastic.
Fun, but hard to keep up with.
Let me open it up to all of you. Any questions that we have that we'd like to ask Jessica about?
I see a hand back there.
Do you see a hand? Okay, there we go. There's one. There's the runner.
Hi, Jeff Schick with T-Mobile.
Hi.
The question is, looking at M, personal assistant, can you talk a little bit about what's going to differentiate M from Cortana or Siri?
Yeah, sure. I'll just, in case not everybody knows what M is a personal assistant that we are testing in the Bay Area. And it's basically, you can ask M anything. Looking for something fun to do with my kid in the rain in Los Angeles. You know, need a reservation for 6 for dinner in City X. And those of us that are lucky to be in the test are like completely addicted to it. It is totally amazing. And we're doing it through a fusion of human people, a team of people who are working on it, as well as a machine learning group, or basically we're training the code to know the questions, the best answers, the reception of those answers. So we're really focused on making it a scaled utility and that knows what you're looking for. So, I mean, I think you know, Siri does a decent job with, I would say, basic search. We're trying to take this to a totally different level of personalized recommendations that don't just rely on the interweb, right? Like it's a learned, trained, human-led experience that gets better over time.
Other questions?
We've had a question submitted through the app.
Great.
Wow, it's so
Jessica,
modern.
Do you tailor my personal Facebook experience based on how I interact or how far I scroll?
Scrolling, interesting. Definitely, I don't know what you mean by interact, but yes, I mean everything that you read, consume, like, share, brands you follow, et cetera, that is all an input and helps us to personalize. And everybody's feed is different. I have never heard anything about scroll length. Don't quote me on that, but I don't.
It's on the 3-week roadmap. You didn't
Oh,
know that?
it's actually coming out, I think, at the end of May, isn't it? Yeah, no, I don't know about anything like that. But all of those other forms of your engagement and action definitely lead to the content that you see and the brands you see.
Great.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Holden from Bank of America.
Hi.
We're hearing a lot about data and relevance and personalization, and you guys have a walled garden that makes that really difficult. Can you talk about the approach to walling off the data? And I mean, it makes it difficult for big brands to really invest a ton of money there because we can't get the data out.
I mean, we certainly work very closely with a lot of folks on data matching and measurement. So I think that we're able to provide a fair amount of utility in terms of the effectiveness of your money on our platforms. I certainly know a lot of clients want to export a lot of things that you know, we feel we have to be very careful about privacy, and we're under a huge amount of scrutiny, particularly outside of the United States. And you know, it's a tough line for all of us to walk, and an evolving one. I mean, I don't think that we have this signed, sealed, and delivered, but we're integrating third-party data partners, working with clients on new approaches all the time, and you know, hopefully able to provide some value within the constraints.
How is the success of the new reactions being measured?
That is a good question. I mean, you're able to see the different reaction. Does everybody know what these are? We added all these different
give everyone a little
faces.
Yeah, sure.
So now you can smile or cry or laugh, or I mean, you have various ways to react with icons. And so that information is available to posters. But you know, we're not doing anything that I'm aware of more proactively in terms of like ad targeting around reactions or anything like that, and I haven't heard about anything in the works for that.
Okay, there's another one.
Really excited to see Oculus in Menlo Park at the campus.
Yeah.
And we're curious
Me too.
whether or not they're working very closely with some of the social feature teams or with the teams that are developing against Atlas to fold in some of that data and apply that into the Facebook family of apps.
Excellent question, and the very short answer is no. So they are really hyper-focused on developing their software and hardware. And this is a very small team, and they have a very aggressive roadmap on that front. They are not involved in the marketing, advertising world with us yet at all. They and Mark have been very clear, and frankly, this is the same for WhatsApp. Like, we have got our own knitting to do with our own products. We'll see how it goes and join the family of apps in the marketing realm in due time. So no, there's nothing brewing at this time. But I should say we're excited, obviously, like brands are testing and doing lots of cool things in the VR realm, and that's awesome. And I am now working with the Oculus team to try to surface kind of what we think are best use cases and great examples of brands doing it well, but that's still not in the Facebook advertising platform.
Others?
I have a question for you. One thing I really admire about Facebook is you guys know when to listen to the customer, but also when to ignore them. For instance, people freak out when you add the algorithm to Instagram or change the newsfeed. So how do you guys decide when to ignore the data and go with your gut, or how do you make those decisions to persevere, I guess, when you get some blowback?
That's an excellent question. Well, I would say we're always, as I said, we're doing that, you know, value for people that is the foundation for driving value for marketers, right? And so we are constantly evaluating that, and sometimes it's, you know, really clear cut. So you know, we've obviously leaned in a lot to live video recently. And it was interesting internally, you know, when Mark and some of the video people came out and said, this is big, it's on fire, people love it, we gotta beef this up, we're gonna put a whole team on lockdown to focus on this. And some other people were like, well, we've got kind of these other fish that we're frying that are really important, and we shouldn't, you know, maybe take the gas off. But there was this very strong internal compass, like, no, we're gonna go after this hardcore. So I think that would be an example of where you know, there was like a very clear shift. And frankly, the shift to mobile first development internally was an example of that, right? Like we had previously done everything with a desktop focus and then add mobile, right? And then Mark and a bunch of product leaders were like, no, absolutely, we're tripling down on mobile. This is gonna make our marketer partners super uncomfortable. This feels wrong to a lot of consumers, but we are confident this is where the world is going. And so now desktop is an add-on to mobile, right? So that was a massive internal change that felt really creaky to a lot of people. Does that answer your question? Cool.
When you're going through changes like that internally, you know, and some of the things that we were all talking about today, just around how the economy is shifting and everything is changing, and we're all in this position where we need to think about how we evolve. How does it get managed internally within Facebook? Is it just, this is what it is and this is the direction that we're going in, or is there more to it that you do internally to really get people on board and move forward aggressively in that direction?
I would say, so when I started 2.5 years ago, obviously the company was quite a bit smaller and we had many fewer products, and I do think Zuck would say, that's the mountain. Everybody put on your crampons, that's the mountain we're climbing. Now we've bought a lot of companies, we have a lot more brands, and so I definitely feel that we are evolving into a multi-brand, multi-platform company. And so Oculus is an example of like really doing their own thing. And that is exciting and good and allows them to focus, but doesn't maybe lead to that much direct line of sight, everybody take that mountain approach. So we are evolving too, right? We are, I always say, we're trying to come out of high school and get ready for college.
Okay.
And I know like a lot of our clients, right, like big, massive global companies, making the switch to mobile is incredibly hard. And we try to, help people and work with people, but like, you look at a P&G scale versus us or any other large conglomerate and we're like, this is really hard. we can't, we can't pretend to be able to help you shift that kind of a battleship. We want to help, but it'll take, tens of thousands of people.
Yep. Okay.
Another question for the
Great.
Where do you see Facebook over the next 12 months in the programmatic space from a platform's perspective, i.e. Atlas or LiveRail as a competitor to DoubleClick?
I mean, yes, right, we are, and we're adding a lot of features and inventory and doing a lot with the audience network, and you'll see some exciting announcements from us on that front very soon. And Atlas is the ribbon that ties all of that together from a measurement perspective. So, I mean, I would say we're firmly committed to that space and to being large and growing and taking our real people-based approach to all of the Facebook family and beyond the broader interwebs as we're doing now with the audience network, and we'll continue to expand there. So, definitely yes and going.
Great. Other questions these questions have been fantastic. Other questions
Yeah, these are great
from
questions.
the audience?
Another one on the app.
Great.
How is Facebook for Business being received by the B2B community?
Excellent question. Thank you. Near and dear to my heart. I would say much better than it was a couple of years ago. I think when I came in, we had a very, very robust and well-developed and mature consumer marketing practice at Facebook. Rich brand testing and message testing and tracking and a huge operation, and frankly the business marketing operation was quite small and I think less sophisticated than some of us would have liked. So we've really increased our research capabilities, really, I hope you would agree, improved our agency relationships. So we've been investing really heavily in knowing what our clients need and want from us and trying to deliver on that. So I think we've seen, and obviously we work hand in hand with the sales team that is a key part of that perception and reality with clients as well. So I think that we've gotten better at recommending the right solutions and having a better view of how our solutions fit together across the family. I think we have plenty of work to do there. We are not done, but getting better. We also have just been going through such colossal global growth. I always laugh with people until very recently we had one marketing person in India. That's one person in India. So that gives you an idea of what we're trying to accomplish in some massive markets with, sometimes it feels like popsicle sticks and bubble gum. Excited about where we've gotten to, and obviously the financial performance gives us more ability to invest and grow still further. But if anybody has any feedback on how we can make it better, I would love to hear it.
Great. others from the audience? Okay. So with the remaining time that we've got left, I just have two more questions for you.
Yeah.
One, this is interesting, because early on within Facebook, it seemed like there was, and I wasn't there, but a mentality of we can build it and we can do it all of ourselves. And then it started to pivot, and the idea of doing acquisitions started to really hit the forefront. And clearly you've done some amazing acquisitions. Can you talk a little bit about how Facebook thinks about acquisitions, how you start to map them out? Is it looking at trends within the space? Is it a deeper consumer understanding from the information that you have? Is it just seeing something new that's in the market? What's the process
So
like
obviously I'm not in this division expressly, but I interact with them. I would say our mission as a company is to connect the world. The thing we are trying to do is to help human beings get connected to the internet and share and connect with other people and businesses. That is the core of everything that we do. So we look for companies that are doing that extremely well, AKA Instagram, WhatsApp, or in the case of an Oculus, Mark and the technology leaders in the company will say, what's the next platform of human communication and interaction? Virtual reality. So we are looking at either leaning into, sorry to use a Facebook pun, either leaning into where people are already connecting or figuring out the new way that they will connect.
And so is there a target, or is it just you're looking at these companies and then when it's right, and you move forward, or not?
The latter.
Okay.
I mean, I think with WhatsApp, Mark was like, holy crap, that thing is huge and on fire, and they're in a lot of geographies where we're not as strong.
Done. Going for it. So for the last one, we'd just love to talk a little bit about video.
Yeah.
So I think, video has been very interesting for us as a performance agency. I think it's been very interesting for our clients, especially our clients that are here that are responsible for driving performance. Because it's so often gotten attached to the TV buying teams and how they extend their reach. But within your platform, we can do a lot to optimize. So how is Facebook looking at the evolution of video, where it's going, what you should be doing? You were talking about broadcasting live events. It really seems like this is starting to evolve and almost take on a bit of a life of its own that might sit outside of measuring it in the traditional way you would measure TV reach.
Yeah. So over the last 18 months, the evolution of video at Facebook has been phenomenal, right? Like consumer usage of and engagement with, obviously autoplay has been a big part of driving that. Video is on fire on Instagram. I think we've been surprised by how much it is really expanding, both from the people and the brand perspectives. Obviously, we're very, very invested in live and think that there's a massive opportunity there. How we as brands use live effectively and market with it is something we're all going to have to test and learn together. I mean, we are in super early days there. But in terms of, like you were saying, I think, early on we were like, oh yeah, brand for video. Well, video is great for any marketing objective, right? Selling anything at either an awareness or a conversion level, right? And so we're very interested in evolving video for DR objectives across Facebook, Instagram, Audience Network, and making that all seamless and interoperable and measurable. And I guess then the other interesting thing semi-interesting thing we've done is to offer TRP buying, right? And so we are very committed to the mobile digital future of media, but we also know that people buy TV and video in certain ways that are traditional and comfortable, and we want to meet people in the middle, right? And there will be some video measurement that focuses on DR closing sales objectives, and there'll be some video bought for awareness on a TRP basis.
Those lines are blurring so much.
Totally. And like that whole idea of the funnel collapsing and video being everywhere all the time.
Great. Jessica, pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much
fun.
for being
Excellent
here
questions.
with us
Thanks.
and spending time with us at our summit.
appreciate it.
And thank you everybody for all the great questions. It was great
Thank
having
you.
you up
Really
here.
appreciate it.